It's not a good feeling. It doesn't make us feel happy or content. You're sitting in a park or walking down the street and you see a person off in the distance. Their hair is matted and their clothes are filthy. And in the back of your mind, you think to yourself, oh, please don't come anywhere near me. And when they finally walk off alone, you feel it. That brief emotion that says, thank goodness I'm better than them. In our culture, we are just bombarded with the idea of better. If you have a job, you're better than those who don't. If you live on the right side of town, you are better than those who live in the slums. Eat the right food, wear the right clothes, act the right way, and you will be better than everyone else. For as long as there has been culture and community, there has been class and status. The culture of Jesus' time, like the culture of now, had the same ideas of status and class and better. Some jobs could only be done by those considered clean, while other tasks were left to those the culture had little regard for. Foot washing was one of those things that was necessary but lowly. People would walk dirt streets in open sandals, and when you entered someone's home, it was expected that your feet would be clean. However, in this culture, touching somebody else's feet was a social taboo. So much so that in most homes, guests were just given water and expected to do it themselves. But in some homes, usually rich homes, a servant would clean the feet of the guests when they arrived. If the house had more than one servant, then the task of foot washing would always fall to the lowliest of them. Even servants had notions of better. Now, Jesus had problems with his disciples from time to time. They were rash and impulsive. They didn't always seem to get what he was saying. But the one thing they didn't do was think him lowly. He was their rabbi, their teacher, their master and their Lord. Their opinion of him couldn't be higher, which is why on the night before his death, Jesus' disciples were so shocked when he engaged in such a lowly activity as washing their feet. The Gospel of John tells us that Jesus took off his outer robe and wrapped a towel around his waist. This was the garb of a servant. Jesus was lowering himself in the cultural mind. No wonder Peter had such a problem with what Jesus was doing. The disciples understood Jesus as a king, one who would rule over all others. And here he was, acting as the lowest servant. The irony is that of all people who ever lived and will ever live, Jesus is the only one who could truly call himself better. He was sinless, the very Son of God, a great teacher and a worker of miracles. If anyone ever had the right to call himself above others, it was him. But he doesn't. Christ doesn't look down on those around him. He humbles himself to the role of servant, completely shattering the idea of better. But Christ goes further than a gesture of humility. This wasn't just a reflection of his character. Christ commands his disciples, commands us to do the same for each other. He set an example for how we are to live our lives, acting humbly towards each other, always willing to serve, never thinking ourselves better than anyone else. If we are to truly be like Christ, to heed the example he has set for us, then we must strive to live with humility. It's not an easy task. Our culture, our needs, our insecurities will always try and tell us we are better than others. We must see all people as God sees them, created in his image, loved and held as precious. For as we do to the least of humanity, we do to Christ.